Do you know the Christmas story? I'm surprised at how many people, especially folk who are a bit younger than me, don't know it, who are or aren't sure of it. So if you know it, could you tell it to someone who didn't? It's a time of year when people get together and there are always stories. Do you remember when? Uncle John once. Do you remember when Margaret was wee? But when, how, where would you start with the story of Jesus? Maybe with a carol. Do you have a favourite one or two? Do they tell the story? If you hear it in company, you could comment that you like the way that song tells the story of Jesus' arrival in the world. Or what about with a small child? Perhaps you could start with a question. Have they ever met a newborn baby? Or a sheep? And then go on to tell the story of how the shepherds heard about a new baby and met him. And that baby, Jesus, grew up. He loved to tell stories and help people to find out about God. What about connections for a teenager? Mary was very likely a teenager, but things didn't go the way she expected them to. Her pregnancy was unplanned, well, by her and Joseph anyway, and if that wasn't enough of a disruption, the census meant travelling, and that didn't go very well either, and they ended up staying in a stable, not exactly a maternity unit at the nearest hospital. A link for adults might be that the baby Jesus, Mary and Joseph were in grave danger from the authorities in their own country, and they fled to Egypt. Refugees from a dreadful situation. This part of the Christmas story isn't often told because of the horror of it, but it's there. Even as a baby, Jesus wasn't immune to political regimes and even violent authorities. So let's think about this beginning of the greatest story ever and be ready to tell it. If telling it raises questions you can't answer, that's okay. You don't have to have the answers. Welcome the question and say you don't know. Pray, ponder the question. Ask someone else who knows the story if they know the answer. And when you get an answer, don't forget to tell the person who asked the question. If the youngsters you know are more into computer games than listening to stories, don't despair. It's another form of storytelling. Scripture Union has worked this out, and they have a brilliant game that you play on a tablet. You move around the countryside near Galilee and find Jesus and his friends busy in one of their adventures, and you hear the story. There are several episodes of this that cover the Nativity. It's free, and it's for 7-year-olds and upwards. A new game, now, just as the school holidays are beginning, might be the way to tell the story of Jesus. Look out for Guardians of Ancora in the App Store. There's information about it in this week's email. So let's be storytellers. It's the best story. It's the time of year for telling it. It connects with what's going on in the world. Give it a go.